Would you believe these insane tariffs that the U.S. is bullying Canada with? 250% for milk,
What?
291% for butter, 208% for whey, 241% for cheese? How could we do this to our neighbor? Oh, wait, those are actually tariffs that Canada imposed on the U.S. last year, whereas for the same goods, we imposed the following tariffs: 10% for cheese, 10% for butter, 5% for milk, 0% for whey.
Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't even know Canada was putting in tariffs so high on America. But at the same time, a lot of Canadians were telling me, I told you, no, vote for this guy, he's gonna raise the tariff, you're gonna pay more for the milk. I'm like, look at what your country is freaking doing. You're going to tell me I'm wrong?
Let us investigate.
Yes, Canada imposed tariffs of up to 270% on dairy products in certain cases. Wow. This is part of Canada's supply management system, which protects its domestic dairy industry by limiting imports through quotas and high tariffs.
It's interesting that since Trump announced tariffs, everyone became an econ PhD who's confident that they know exactly what tariffs will do to the economy. But while you've seen Trump fighting for tariffs, you haven't seen that before no one was fighting for us at all on the global scale. Now, how are tariffs going to affect the whole economy over the next year? I don't know. And no one else does either. But I do know that tariffs got Apple to build a new factory and hire 20,000 more Americans. I do know that the word is that Honda is building 210,000 of their next Honda Civics here in America instead of Mexico and giving Americans jobs. I do know that Taiwan Semiconductor announced that they're going to invest $100 billion to build up 5 new chip factories in the U.S., creating yet more jobs.
I keep hearing this defense. If you put the tariffs, somebody is going to pay it, the citizen, which is you. And I'm like, it might be true, but companies are not that incentivized to build somewhere else because it's cheaper. So they will never suffer the tariffs. So they can just build it in America. Isn't that a good thing? The fact that so many jobs are coming back, isn't that a good thing? Now you have more money in your pocket. Will you donate more? I don't know.
I think that's a good thing.
I just see a bigger plan that helps more people, make more people happy. Isn't that a good thing?
I do know that tariffs are being used to pressure China, Mexico, and to a lesser extent, Canada, going to invest $100 billion to build up 5 new chip factories in the U.S., creating yet more jobs. I do know that tariffs are being used to pressure China, Mexico, and to a lesser extent, Canada, to stop the flow of fentanyl over our border and killing 70,000 Americans a year. Now, here's the thing with tariffs. They're one tactic in an economic strategy, and there are all sorts of ways that that tactic can get used. Sometimes they get deployed for short-term, sometimes long-term, sometimes they're actually used, and sometimes the threat of them gets used. Sometimes they're used to threaten Russia to end the war. Sometimes they're used to generate revenue from other countries so we don't need to tax our citizens so much. Sometimes they're used so that we support farmers here rather than farmers abroad.
I think right now we live in a society that people only believe in the thing they want to believe in the now. They don't understand long-term investment because people don't have the patience for it. Because nobody teaches you that, especially Shorts and TikTok or Tinder and Instagram. We have a swiping brain these days.
Swipe or no swiping.
They're used to make companies make weapons that we rely on here rather than China, which is our rival. Sometimes they drive prices up, but wages up too. Is this all making your head spin? Yeah, me too. Because there's a lot to consider. Macroeconomics are complicated, and it takes time to play out. Rather than focusing on every move on the chessboard, we need to all zoom out and ask ourselves, do I think my president wants America to win? Am I listening to people who want my president to fail so that they're proven right, even if that means America goes wrong? Am I willing to tolerate short-term disruption for long-term gain? Look, no one should have blind faith in any leader, but blind negativity just hurts everyone, you included. And remember, if you can't make a strong argument for the opposition against your side, then you're not seeking the truth. You're choosing your tribe.
Look, I don't agree with blind negativity at all because It's one of the worst things. Trump is causing the eggs prices to go higher. Now you have to buy eggs from other places. It's gonna be higher. It's your fault. Mengadelo, remember to subscribe.
¿Tú no subscribe? ¿Por qué?
You want that in 4
Well, in
weeks?
3 weeks he could
Well,
fire
got rid of the whole
75,000
agency.
people, right? That's
Do you
just
think it is
about,
a
right?
legitimate political debating point for the previous administration to have overseen historic inflation over 4 years and then you to come out and say, 4 weeks, I guess Trump's a failure. Let's
He
move
said
on.
on day one, I will lower your gross meat prices, and he has not done it. Prices have gone up.
You promised me. You're a liar.
This is trading economics. The prices are going down. You gotta give it time.
Imagine telling someone who was born in a dictatorship that Donald Trump is a dictator. If any Cubans or anybody else who was born in a dictatorship had gone through a dictatorship, hears what you're saying or reads what you're saying, I guarantee you they are cracking up right now. All I do is laugh on this app every day. You guys make me laugh so much because I'm like, oh my God, the privileged Americans have no idea. They're cosplaying oppression and they don't know the first thing about being oppressed. A dictator, really?
My husband is from Cuba. People he worked with got upset he voted for Trump and he had to tell them you don't know what it's like to live under tyranny. Donald Trump isn't a dictator. The Democrats are fighting for communism. It's unreal how brainwashed people are. Yes, I think they have no freaking idea. Communism is about who is more important, so they get the food, the money and the privilege because they are voting for a specific person. And also communism, the gangster one from Cuba. Hey man, if you disagree with the politics, you done.
What the hell is wrong with you, you sick bastard?
Cubans would tell me the rocks and the wall can listen. Yeah, it was a different social media back in the day. And what you're doing right now with social media, especially under Biden or even a few years before, it's the same thing. That's why they're like, we're not voting for that thinking. We want to avoid it because we know the investment without the swiping mentality.
Communism forever.
No.
We're gonna straighten you out!
Do you understand this whole country was built on immigrant blood, sweat, and tears that you and your community continues to deny?
Who's my community? What do you mean by
Where
that?
are you from?
So you're assuming that what, I'm white because I prefer Trump? I'm not. I'm Colombian.
You're Colombian?
Yeah.
Then you
How do
are
you feel
very
about that?
shameful.
When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
How so? My dad came here legally. He didn't cross the border.
Why are you against illegal immigrants crossing the borders looking for safety?
America does not have some history of unfettered, unrestricted immigration. That's a fantasy. America has always had rules and regulations to get in. Not to mention, people never came here expecting welfare. People came here knowing they were going to have to work. They didn't come in here with government assistance and government welfare and housing.
And they're going to respond, yeah, but they have the human right to live just like you. You know what? Most immigrants that I know from my time, their parents didn't go there to live better. They went there to give their kids a better opportunity. And the way the lady is speaking,
See this? You see what I'm doing? Not even looking. I'm swiping yes.
I think it goes totally against that. And it disrupts everything in such a bad way that she has to judge that guy as a white person before it might be a Colombian. And the fact that he is Colombian,
Then you
How
are
do you feel
very
about that?
shameful.
How so?
I'm like, come on, man. I don't look at this girl and be like, oh, I bet you have a single mother. Your father isn't available. Everybody is drunk. You might like that. Why would I say that? You are the thing that you're calling that guy.
What does transgenderism in public look like to you?
It's allowing men to be treated for the purposes of the law as women. It's men taking 900 sports trophies from women in recent years.
And they didn't take 900.
They took 900. There's a report just came out from the United Nations, actually. 890 trophies and medals across 600 women who were competitors, across 29 different sports and 400 competitions. That came out like yesterday.
And they deserved them.
It didn't happen and they deserve them. Okay, that is the logic I hear from the pro-trans crowd.
It's very hard to comprehend when you want to tell people why something is bad for certain people and somebody says that didn't happen, but then you prove it and they would say suddenly that's a good thing. I find that analogy odd. The moving after goalpost just means I can never really trust you because if something bad might be happening and I prove you wrong, you actually would say that's a good thing. Do Do you know in how much trouble I would get myself into if I did it to the opposite side? I won't even have a YouTube channel.
Why does it take so many months or days to count the ballots in California? A month.
Legit.
India, 1 day to count 640 million votes.
Yep.
Germany, 8 hours to count 50 million votes.
Yep.
Argentina, 6 hours to count 27 million votes.
To this day.
California, 4 weeks to count 16 million votes.
And what do you have to say for yourself?
It's ridiculous.
Why?
It's ridiculous. It's because it's, and by the way, we've been having this conversation enough. And it's first of all, we believe that every vote counts, so we want to make sure every vote is counted.
Ladies and gentlemen, at first I thought Gavin Newsom is going to get fact-checked so many times. The left-leaning side might get angry at him. He might stop supporting radical left ideologies. And then somebody wrote this. Warning, nothing that Newsom says on his podcast is what he actually believes. This is all about 2028.
The guy's making a lot of sense. He's really speaking to me.
It made me realize that I even sometimes swipe with my brain and I don't think about the long-term investment of the other side. And now that I see this, I can't unsee it.
Don't get me wrong, makosa kita bong. Butta fire na mi blonde, kush hash, purple skunk, criollo, colombici, jam jam, durloketa, berdetta, welcome.